The next day, Hem and Haw left their homes and returned to Cheese Station C again, where they still expected somehow to find their cheese. The situation hadn't changed, and cheese was no longer there. The little people didn't know what to do. Him and Haw just stood there, immobilized like two statues. Haw shut his eyes as tight as he could and put his hands over his ears. He just wanted to block everything out. He didn't want to know the cheese supply had gradually been getting smaller. He believed it had been moved all of a sudden. Ham analyzed the situation over and over, and eventually his complicated brain with its huge belief system took hold. Why did they do this to me? He demanded. What's really going on here? Finally, Haw opened his eyes, looked around, and said, By the way, where are Sniff and Scurry? Do you think they know something we don't? Ham scoffed. What would they know? Ham continued. They're just mice. They just respond to what happens. We're little people. We're smarter than mice. We should be able to figure this out. I know we're smarter, Haw said, but we don't seem to be acting smarter at the moment. Things are changing around here, Ham. Maybe we need to change and do things differently. Why should we change? Ham asked. We're little people. We're special. This sort of thing should not happen to us. Or if it does, we should at least get some benefits. Why should we get benefits? Haw asked. Because we're entitled, Ham claimed. Entitled to what? Haw wanted to know. We're entitled to our cheese. Why? Haw asked. Because we didn't cause this problem, Ham said. Ugh. Somebody else did this, and we should get something out of it, Haw suggested. Maybe we should simply stop analyzing the situation so much and go find some new cheese. Oh no, Ham argued. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. While Ham and Haw were still trying to decide what to do, Sniff and Scurry were already well on their way. They went further into the maze, up and down corridors, looking for cheese in every cheese station they could find. They didn't think of anything else but finding new cheese. They didn't find any for some time until they finally went into an area of the maze where they had never been before. Cheese Station N. They squealed with delight. They found what they had been looking for, a great supply of new cheese. They could hardly believe their eyes. It was the biggest store of cheese the mice had ever seen. In the meantime, Ham and Haw were still back in Cheese Station C, evaluating their situation. They were now suffering from the effects of having no cheese. They were becoming frustrated and angry, and were blaming each other for the situation they were in. Now and then, Haw thought about his mice friends, Sniff and Scurry, and wondered if they had found any cheese yet. He believed they might be having a hard time, as running through the maze usually involves some uncertainty. But he also knew that it was likely to only last for a while. Sometimes Haw would imagine Sniff and Scurry finding new cheese and enjoying it. He thought about how good it would be for him to be out on an adventure in the maze and to find fresh, new cheese. He could almost taste it. The more clearly Haw saw the image of himself finding and enjoying the new cheese, the more he saw himself leaving Cheese Station C. Let's go! He exclaimed all of a sudden. No! Ham quickly responded. I like it here. It's comfortable. It's what I know. Besides, it's dangerous out there. No, it isn't, Haw argued. We've run through many parts of the maze before, and we can do it again. I'm getting too old for that, Hem said, and I'm afraid I'm not interested in getting lost and making a fool of myself. Are you? With that, Haw's fear of failing returned and his hope of finding new cheese faded. So every day, the little people continued to do what they had done before. They went to Cheese Station C, found no cheese, and returned home carrying their worries and frustrations with them. They tried to deny what was happening, but found it harder to get to sleep, had less energy the next day, and were becoming irritable. Their homes were not the nurturing places they once were. The little people had difficulty sleeping and were having nightmares about not finding any cheese. But him and Haw still returned to Cheese Station C and waited there every day. Ham said, "You know, if we just worked harder, we'll find that nothing really has really changed that much. The cheese is probably nearby. Maybe they just hid it behind the wall." The next day, Ham and Haw returned with tools. Ham held the chisel while Haw banged on the hammer until they made a hole in the wall of Cheese Station C. They peered inside but found no cheese. They were disappointed but believed they could solve the problem. They started earlier, stayed longer, and worked harder, but after a while, all they had was a large hole in the wall. Ha was beginning to realize the difference between activity and productivity. "Maybe," Ham said, "we should just sit here and see what happens. Sooner or later, they have to put the cheese back." Ha wanted to believe that. So each day he went home to rest and returned reluctantly with him to Cheese Station C, but cheese never reappeared. By now, the little people were growing weak from hunger and stress. Ha was getting tired of just waiting for their situation to improve. He began to see that the longer they stayed in their cheeseless situation, the worse off they would be. Ha knew they were losing their edge. Finally, one day, Ha began laughing at himself. "Ha ha ha! Look at us! We keep doing the same things over and over again and wonder why things don't get better. If this wasn't so ridiculous, it would be even funnier." Ha did not like the idea of having to run through the maze again because he knew he would get lost and have no idea where he would find any cheese. But he had to laugh at his folly when he saw what his fear was doing to him. He asked him, "Where did we put our running shoes?" It took a long time to find them because they had put everything away when they found their cheese at Cheese Station C, thinking they wouldn't be needing them anymore. As Hem saw his friend getting into his running gear, he said, "You're not really going out into the maze again, are you? Why don't you just wait here, wait with me until they put the cheese back?" "Because you just don't get it," Ha said. "I didn't want to see it either, but now I realize they're never going to put yesterday's cheese back. It's time to find new cheese." Him argued, "But what if there is no cheese out there? Or even if there is, what if you don't find it?" "I don't know," Ha said. He had asked himself those same questions too many times and felt the fears again that kept him where he was. He asked himself, "Where am I more likely to find cheese, here or in the maze?" He painted a picture in his mind. He saw himself venturing out into the maze and with a smile on his face. While this picture surprised him, it made him feel good. He saw himself getting lost now and then in a maze, but he felt confident he would eventually find new cheese out there and all the good things that came with it. He gathered his courage, then he used his imagination to paint the most believable picture he could, with the most realistic details of him finding and enjoying the taste of new cheese. Then he heard him say something and realized they were still at Cheese